Welcome to Ring the Damn Bell. I am your host, KG. With me tonight, we have referee George Strong and Mark, who is the wrestling enthusiast. Great guy. I'm surrounded by great guys. This podcast. How are you both doing?
Good.
I'm good.
Good. So before we start, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central, Just Incredible will be on the podcast live only on YouTube. Now tonight, it's normally we do the recap of Dynamite, which we will, but I also want to talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw because there's some pretty big things that happened. And look, I'll be honest with you, we can really shorten up the recap of AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite with just one word: terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible, in my opinion.
I don't know if it's terrible, but yeah, it definitely was a
Terrible.
letdown.
I think it's terrible. And look, in all fairness, maybe it's because Monday Night Raw was overly exceptional, in my opinion. It was really, really good. And then you go to Dynamite, and I mean, I just from the very moment they went live, I'm like, what the fuck? We'll get there. Let's talk about just a couple of things on Monday Night Raw first. We're not going to go over the whole show. That would take way too long. So let's talk about the important things. The first is Becky Lynch and Valkyria. I think that's your pronounce her name.
Yeah.
Lost the title, and then Becky Lynch turned on her. What I found interesting was the fans didn't boo Becky Lynch. What they did was started chanting one more time. I definitely think that the era with fans we are in right now is really close to that attitude era where the fans just they were all about the heels versus the baby faces, and this is why characters like Stone Cold Steve Austin was created or happened because they were that anti-hero. But what did you guys think of the Becky Lynch turn? And I posted this on Ring the Damn Bell's Facebook page that, all Heyman has to do now, Paul Heyman, is get Becky Lynch, get their baby, got Seth Rollins, and you now have the Rollins bloodline.
Go ahead, George.
uh, well, it was surprising they lost the belt, and then when the heel turn happened, it was like, oh, well, that's why they did it. So it's I hate, I know we're on a podcast, but I don't like reading the dirt sheets and reading the internet wrestling communities like leaked rumors and stuff. But I was like, once I saw that, I was like, well, it makes sense now. Becky going heel after her husband gets Paul Heyman as a manager, turns on Lyra. They're trying to get a crowd behind Lyra. It does not work when you get one of the top stars in the company to turn heel on somebody that's not that hot. So in fairness, it's like, I'm sorry Lyra couldn't get a sympathy cheer, but they booed Becky at some point, but then it was still like, all right, let's see her kill her. Like, go ahead and hit her with another manhandle.
Yeah. And Mark, do you think that in order for them to accomplish what they did, that they had to go all the way with the belt being dropped to WrestleMania, only for them to win the belt back, for this heel turn to actually work? Or do you think they could have done this without actually, having the belt dropped at WrestleMania?
I think it was more impactful having them win the belts and then losing them the next day. Becky turning really wasn't a big surprise to me. To me, she was due to be a heel turn. So I wasn't really shocked. Lyra, I like her, but God, she doesn't have that it factor right now. I don't know what it is, but she doesn't have that it factor. But somebody's high on her. She got the ability, but she needs a mouthpiece or something because she just does not have that it factor.
Yeah, I completely agree. Next,
I'm sorry. I'll echo that with Mark because I remember we had that conversation. I keep saying the same thing about Lyra. I was like, it's there. It's just what she needs to pull out of her is not there.
Right.
And that's
right.
once she loses that belt, we're gonna forget about her, and I hate that because that's
Of course,
a coming face.
her coming out with them wings on WrestleMania night 2, I was like, oh my god, go away.
Yeah, I agree. The other big thing that happened is we got the return of shit, what's his name? Rusev. Now, yeah. So I'll tell you that I was hoping that when he came back, he would have kept the name Miro because I knew the first thing the fans would chant would be Rusev Day. And I think back then Rusev Day would have worked. It was great. He still had his wife with him. I believe that Rusev is in a different place. I think that if they pursue this Rusev Day and the fans continuously chant it, I think that is going to hold him back, and I think that he's going to go back a couple of steps. What did you all think about his return? And what are your thoughts about what I said about this whole Rusev Day that the fans went to right away? And the last question is, should he came back as Miro? Mark, why don't you take it first?
You know what? I'm sad because I like him in AEW, but they didn't do anything with him. They really didn't. I really hope his wife stays away because I really don't think she adds much to it, to be
They're
honest.
divorced.
Yeah, but she's still with them, I guess. With as far
they're
as
still hanging out.
Oh, really?
yeah,
Mhm.
as far as being together on screen, yeah, they're still together, I guess. But yeah, I hear they're divorced. Um, he'll be great for 3-6 months, and then he'll be a jobber again. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I
George?
kind of agree with that. I agree with that because I mean, I got a coworker that just kind of randomly picked up wrestling, and that's all he talks about with me at work besides comic books is wrestling since he started watching again. And he was like, "That guy just doesn't do it for me." I'm like, "Well, I get that," and I think about AEW because like when he went there, it was a big deal, and they tried to redeem her angle, and then
Which
Tony
I love,
Khan
by the way.
no, it was great, but it's
I
just like
loved
the
it.
whole booking thing with
But
AEW
I
doesn't
agree.
equate to what they do in WWE. Now,
Yeah.
here's my disagree for the day so far with the whole Rusev thing. He comes back as Rusev. So let me sports analogy. When a player leaves a team and he's known for a certain jersey number, he goes to another team, gets a different number. If he comes back to that team, what number does he usually get? Or let's use the Saints. Let's use Mark Ingram for an example. How long it took before he got his original jersey number back while he was with. So that's what we're looking at. A wrestler that's known as something. There was a Rusev Day chant when he first got there, even though they knew what his name was. But it's all a marketing thing. You get the same guy back. You can't change his name. He'll never not be Rusev. He was NXT. He was main roster. He was Rusev. Miro, I know that's part of his real name, I believe, but I go with the old name. Like he didn't make it as Miro. Try again as Rusev. Not going to be the same stick. We use the Rusev Day chant. We think about before Triple H took over how Rusev Day got buried. Basically, it was just a T-shirt and a chant. There was not much done with it. He wasn't pushed. He kept losing after it got popular in like some of the peak days of SmackDown Live. So I'm all for coming back as Rusev. Raw after Mania, you don't have to come back to a storyline. You can do what he did and annihilate everybody and ran off the New Day, destroyed Otis and Tozawa because they're the bump guys. They're the sports entertainers, even though we know they can wrestle. But they're the perfect faces to get beat up by a guy coming.
But let me ask you both this though. The reason why I think that the whole Rusev Day, if they pursue this, will hurt him is because I think that it's just a matter of time if they pursue this Rusev Day thing, that Rusev will become nothing but a comedy act. And I think that, very few professional wrestlers has been put in that category and still have been extremely successful. I don't think Rusev could be the comedy act and be successful as well. I think that he will turn into the joke of Monday Night Raw with silly backstage shit. You guys agree with that or no?
I think they're going to misuse him, plain and simple, like they did last time. Also, backtracking real quick, you'll never, ever, ever see WWE use an AEW name on their program. So whoever they bring back from
We have
AEW,
Ray Phoenix, his brother.
but that was their names in TNA. That was their name in AAA. That is the name they're used to. It wasn't a name that AEW gave them. All right.
Right.
And
So
the piggyback on that, Penta doesn't even have his full name. He had to change his name while he was in AEW. So
Yeah.
so yeah, WWE will never ever acknowledge somebody under an AEW name. Rusev, I think is a great talent. I think him versus Xena back what 5-6 years ago was really good. But again, they mishandled him one time. That's why he left. They're gonna mishandle him again.
Yeah.
I think I made the third and agree that I'm happy he's back, but eventually he'll get either lost in the shuffle or he'll have to do a Shinsuke act, and we're gonna change your gimmick a couple of times and let you lose to everybody. Then when you're ready, get you on a winning streak, give you a belt so you can make a bigger name out of somebody else. Only difference is I think Rusev. I personally, depending on if they let him talk or not, he might need a manager. He could be another guy for a different group or something. But yeah, I think he gets the Andrade. He's going to get pushed for a while. Then they're not going to know what to do with him, but they're going to save him for like tournaments and championship, contender matches to make him look good. And that's about it.
Yeah. Right. Well, look at Andrade. Andrade didn't have a WrestleMania match, So, and Andrade is an extraordinary talent.
He has, but for some reason, the fans, they'll connect with him for a second, and then they turn on him. It's just quiet. So
Andrade keeps doing the same cycle that he did in NXT. It took a while for everybody to get warmed up to him.
He's currently, I think, one of the top 5 best wrestlers out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
As far as wrestling ability.
Right. Now, the next major thing that happened on Raw was, I guess it was the main event. We closed the night, and that is Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins. We see CM Punk come to the ring. That turns to a fight. CM Punk basically gets his ass kicked. And then Roman Reigns comes out. Roman Reigns really had the upper hand. And then at the last minute, we see a guy with a black sweatshirt on, a hoodie with a hood on, comes in and takes out CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And we find out that is none other than I always want to call him Braun Strowman. There's too many Brauns. Yeah, Braun Breaker. Yep, Braun Breaker. Now I'll be honest with you. When he first came into the ring with a hoodie on, I didn't know who the fuck that was at first. I'm like, who is that? And then he took off the hood. I got excited about this. A Paul Heyman faction with Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and possibly another person makes me happy. What about you two?
Braun, anyway you use them, as long as you're using them, keep them on the forward momentum. This guy is nothing but money. Nothing but money.
Yep. And the Braun Breaker, he was the replacement for Brock Lesnar in the Rumble. That's 2 years ago now?
2 years ago, yeah.
So you cannot replace Brock Lesnar, but that is probably the closest person you can do it with. He's not as tall, but I mean, he's still a menacing, strong guy that can spear people in half, as we've seen him do Carlito for 2 weeks in a row. I love the addition. I love the hope that there's a new Heyman, dangerous alliance, I guess you could call it. But I like the idea. I'm hoping he doesn't have to ditch the music, but I'm hoping Seth pretty much goes back to the Messiah and we get the actual thing, not what was at the pandemic.
Well, that was my next question is, although he kind of looked like a banana a little bit, but yellow, it was definitely better than a lot of the other stuff that he's wearing. Do you guys think that placing him with Rollins and Braun Breaker, do you think we're going to get more of a serious Seth Rollins, including the way he dresses? Or do you think that that character with the crazy dressing, the way he does his promos, is really what made Seth go to that next level where they're now putting him with Paul Heyman? Mark?
No, I think you're going to see a more toned down, because I don't think Seth's going to be the mouthpiece. I think Paul is going to be, 50-50 with Seth, because Seth will go out in left field sometimes on some of his um, rants or whatever you want to call them. He kind of pulls, I don't know, like a Jake Snake Robert kind of. What the hell did he just? What the hell is he trying to say? So I really can't get behind Seth. Now, with that being said, with Paul Heyman there, yeah, I'm a little bit more excited.
Well, George?
So I see it going. Actually, I see it going both ways. I see him still getting those outrageous outfits out there, maybe before the match, but maybe promos with the group or with him and Braun and Paul, if that's not the full group. But just you might see more flamboyant suits like he was doing before he started the crazy dresses and different looks like he had with like the different color suits he was wearing before he went full blown crazy with the outfits. As far as more serious, less, I would say yes, because it's less joking around, less pettiness, but with other wrestlers, and like Mark said, he'll probably be a third of the mouthpiece at this point, because they'll have Paul Heyman to talk for both guys. I'm not saying Braun can't talk on the mic, because he absolutely can. I mean, he's just as much his uncle's child as he is his dad's child. So I mean, Scott was the mouthpiece when it came to the Steiners. Rick could cut him, but Rick wasn't a promo guy. Let's face it. Scott Steiner was the money when it came to talking. So you pretty much got Scott Steiner. Seth Rollins can speak. His work speaks for himself. But putting him with a manager, it's pretty much going to be like stunning Steve Austin being in a dangerous alliance. You're going to have that one guy that can do everything, but the manager that can speak for everybody else, unless somebody bigger comes into the group, like, The Rock or John Cena, that little rumor that's going.
Well, I've heard, I heard from a source today who actually works WWE back office, that he has heard that Brock Lesnar may be coming back and he may be the third guy in this faction. If that happens, is this something you want to see, or would you prefer to see something more fresh and a different third guy come in and join that faction?
I had heard that Austin Theory is going to be a part of it, but that's just what I heard.
Why? What in the fuck? That would be terrible.
No, it wouldn't. He needs another rebuild.
Right.
He does.
Away from Grayson Waller.
I agree. But to put him directly with Paul Heyman, because he is kind of a joke right now, I think that would take away the seriousness from this potential faction, in my opinion.
That would be the point, though. Like, he'd go back, because I mean, and going back to the pandemic, he was in the group with Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy or Matthews, whatever he was. So he wasn't exactly the most serious character then, but if you get him away from the A-Town Down Under, which, by the way, sidebar, I called that tag team before it even happened. I was like, they need to put Austin Theory and Grayson Waller together. I didn't know where the tag team division was going, but I knew that would be a decent pairing, and it has been. Unfortunately, they fall to the background because they're not a serious act, and tag team wrestling was barely on pay-per-views. It was literally just on TV. Put Austin Theory in the group. You got Heyman, who on screen brought him to WWE, according to he handed him the WWE contract at Evolve, but you put him with a group that he can be taken more seriously as. He can go back to being an Austin Theory that was not exactly Vince McMahon's boy, but what he was probably going to be when he was with Seth Rollins the first time before he went back to NXT.
Yeah, and the thing is that even powerful factions, they need that guy that's going to take the L if they're going to take an L. Because I mean, we seen with the Bloodline, the Bloodline with Solo in it, that Tama Tonga was that guy in that faction. And a lot of times in those factions, you have to have that guy that's going to take the L to protect the top talent in those factions. So I could see that. But again, we got away from the original question. Would you guys like to see Brock Lesnar in this, or do you want to see something fresh, like an Austin Theory, or somebody else? Go ahead, Mark.
I think if you put Brock in there, it's going to implode a lot faster. I don't think you can have Seth and Brock together because there's too much ego there, or too much demand for spotlight. I guess I'm not going to say ego, and I think it's going to implode. And realistically, who's Heyman going to really go for? Seth or Brock. Storyline he'd probably go Seth, but in reality he'd go Brock.
Yep. Now, what would you think about the whole Austin Theory thing with Austin Theory possibly being the person, Mark?
I think it'd be Evolution 0.20. But I think they need to bring in another person too. I think they need to make it a 4-person deal. Now I've heard rumors that a 7-time former world champion is going to join. That'd be Becky Lynch because she's a 7-time champ. I don't think Becky is a good call. I don't think she's a good fit. But that's just me.
I disagree a little bit because, look, it would be nice to see a woman talent, female talent, in a faction like this. I don't think we've really ever seen it, with the exception of the valet. But to actually see one that can perform in the ring, I think it would be different, and as well as it would make sense for her to interfere in the matches with Seth Rollins. So maybe, but back to you, George. What would you think about Brock Lesnar being the guy?
So, because of all that stuff that goes on, I'm kind of on the fence. If he gets cleared, bring him back. He's money. I wouldn't put him in the group. I'd let him come back by himself because you already had Paul Heyman fight over him and Roman Reigns, and now you had Paul ditch CM Punk and Roman Reigns in the same match. So why go backwards? It would definitely be backwards storytelling to me. If Brock gets any type of clearance to come back, and I would not have him with anybody. I'd let him. I mean, just as well, like Rusev coming back. We don't know if he's going to be with a group or a good guy, a bad guy. He's just tearing into people. Let Brock do the same thing because it's Brock Lesnar, and he's shown that he still has it to talk for himself without a manager after that last run before he left. The other thing with Becky Lynch fitting in, I automatically go straight to the Judgment Day. I'm like, they may not have had a manager, but they had a women's wrestler, and she's very good. And they even let her beat up some of the guys. Not that Becky would do that, but too many groups that they've made, like LWO or Legado, they haven't really had a focal point when having a woman in the group. The woman's just there, whether she can wrestle or not. If you get Becky in a group like this, that's more serious towards the storyline, it looks more like Rhea Ripley, where it's like, oh, now we got somebody that, we know she can handle her own for the women's division. And if championship goal is the ultimate goal for everybody, we've got somebody that can win a belt on every level. So, that's the only thing about Becky fitting in or not fitting in. She kind of fits that mold. If they want to make the group serious, she could do it.
Yeah. And 2 more questions, then we'll get to AEW. The first question is, with Brian Breaker and Seth Rollins, how do you think they're going to use them? Are they going to use them more of a tag team, seeing them go after those tag team belts? Or do you see them being more in single action, one possibly going for the United States Championship and the other way going for the world title?
Well, they'd have to go to SmackDown for the IC or the US title. And I think Seth
Unless they get drafted.
That's true. I think Seth is always in the world title picture, to be honest. I think he's a standard fallback if they can't find somebody. One thing we did miss is that I thought was a nice surprise. Randy Orton dropping John Cena at the beginning of the show.
That's right.
I thought that was phenomenal, to be honest.
Yeah, it was done very well.
But this is the negative, and this is why I did. Yes, I liked it as far as the show goes. Why I don't like it is he's going to be the next one, I'm assuming, going after that title. And we all know that it's too soon for John Cena to drop the title. I want to see Randy Orton at some point get the title. It would have been nice if they would have did this a few months down the road, where we at least would have that playing the guessing game. Is will Randy actually win this title? For this match, I'm sure we're going to enjoy it, but for most of us, there's not going to be that curiosity of will Randy actually be able to win it, because we know again it's too soon for John Cena to drop that title. But my last question was CM Punk, Roman Reigns. I'm guessing we're going to see them tagging, going after both Breakker and Rollins. Are they going to tell the story of them actually being able to bury the hatchet and get together on one, as one on the same path? Or throughout this, are we going to constantly see them wanting to square off against one another?
Did you ask the magic WWE question without asking it? You know what it is, right?
What's that?
Can they coexist?
Yes, exactly.
It's beat to death for like 20 years.
Right.
Yes, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see them not get along, and then they're finally going to get along. That's what's going to happen. Paul ditched us for the new chick on the block. We got to go get him.
Yeah, you're going to see it because the enemy of my enemy, or the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah.
But again, these guys are going to implode on themselves too.
Yep. Excuse me.
Matter of fact, that'll probably be a SummerSlam match. Will be Punk versus Roman.
Yeah, I'm sure we get Roman and Punk out of this before they completely go after Seth and Braun. Like we have to, because it hasn't been done yet since he's been back, obviously.
Do you guys think that we're going to see CM Punk win gold? I mean, he is getting up there in age. I don't think he's planning on doing this for a lot longer. So do you think that we're going to see gold? And if so, will it be more of like an IC title or the United States Championship? Or do you think he's going to actually get a world title run?
I think there's a handful of people that are going to face John Cena to take the belt off him. I think CM Punk's in that running. I think Randy's in that running. Other than that, I really, there's maybe one other person that I could possibly think of. I'm not quite sure, because right off the top of my head, I can't think of. Because it's going to be somebody that he's had history with. All right. So, I think there's a remote chance Punk's going to get it, but he's not going to carry it long.
Yeah, George?
Yes. So in that whole grand scheme of things, I think I talked about it before. It's just like John Cena is going to have a bunch of matches against people he's faced, to say what Mark said. But going back to the Randy Orton thing, the one thing you forget about Backlash, it's in St. Louis. What did they do for the second show of NXT on CW in St. Louis? They had Randy Orton versus Javon Evans. If they're going to a place that are popular wrestlers from, they're probably going to be on the show. Just like Gunther having the Bash of Berlin match. So going back to the whole, what happens with CM Punk, championship goal probably going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the World Heavyweight Championship at some point. And considering like him and Randy Orton aren't retiring yet, as opposed to John Cena, I think we'll see one or two more WWE Championship reigns for both of them. I can't say two exactly, but at least one of those two guys might have two more title runs in them, depending on how long they plan on wrestling.
Do you think they'll let Randy Orton, and we'll get to AEW after this, do you guys think that there's a chance Randy Orton actually be the guy to break John Cena's record, that the 17 wins, being that he's at 14 or 15 right now?
15 right now, I think.
15? Yeah.
He's at 15.
No, I can see him going to 16. That's about it.
And I was about to say, unless WWE's, even with Triple H, they could still do it and have him tie it and just say, oh, now we got the two people that beat Ric Flair. Because I don't think Charlotte's going to make it to break her dad's record, or even catch John Cena. With the way she's been getting hurt lately, it's just like I don't see her making it to do it. And I might be wrong. But Randy at the most gets 16 or tie John Cena, because he's the other icon for WWE besides John Cena, because Batista's gone and Brock Lesnar's not there. So
Yeah, I'm not sure what they can do with Charlotte. I know she made a post on X, formerly Twitter, saying that she's just going to wrestle. There's a lot of fans concerned about her. I guess time will tell. Let's get to the snoozer of the conversations. AEW. I'm a big AEW fan. For the past month or so, they've been having great Dynamite. Last night was a hard watch for me. And as I said, maybe in all fairness, it's because I'm just coming off of what Raw did, go to AEW. But I gotta tell you, the start of AEW, I know they're in New Orleans, my home place, with Master P. That just didn't work, man. Just didn't work at all. I thought that was terrible. I think that I can see them bringing Master P on. He's from Louisiana, saying hello. Fine, maybe introduce Op, but then getting out the ring. But how everything went down, it was terrible. Absolutely terrible, the opening segment. What say you, George?
Well, as the other guy in the group from New Orleans, I was not impressed. Not the whole show, just that segment, because I forgot. Like, I had the TV on and I was in and out of the room, but I did not see Master P. And then when I watched the highlights, I was like, I see why I didn't see him, because he was just kind of there. It was like Travis Scott being in the ring at the end of Elimination Chamber. I'm like, well, okay, what are we doing here? All right, he's just walking out the way. The wrestlers are barely paying attention to him. What's going on? All
Well,
right, that's it.
what got me was this: he's in the middle of the feud that's happening with the Ops. You know, Samoa Joe's choking out Moxley, and then there's Master P. You know, saying try to hit John Moxley as well. It came off as too hokey to me. And if Samoa Joe and Moxley and the rest of the guys are supposed to be dangerous, they're these badasses. You know, there's this violence happening in the ring. You would get out the way. You think they would have Master P get the fuck out the way, but instead he was there, not worried about anything. And that just kind of it failed for me. Mark, was this an opening? Was this a winning segment for you?
You know what? When they introduced Master P, I'm like, what is this? WCW? Because this guy hasn't been relevant since WCW, in my opinion. You know? And even when he came out for WCW, I was like, who the hell's Master P? You know? Of course, that wasn't my genre of music. All right. All right. But I knew through a couple weeks I figured out who he was, whatever, and he was relevant at the time. You know, to me, he looked like Beyonce's husband. You know, that's what he looked like to me.
Jay-Z?
Yeah.
Jay-Z.
You know.
Yep. By the way, real quick, guys, since you brought up Jay-Z, on Netflix, there is a show called Who's Next is with David Letterman. I watched it today. He did an interview with Jay-Z. Absolutely, such a great interview. So you know, if you guys are Jay-Z fans, go check that out. But I think that if they would remove Master P out of the scenario, or at least remove him as soon as the fight started, this would be much better. I'm not hating seeing Moxley going against Joe. I'm really not. But yeah, I thought that this was just a terrible way to start off the show. Mark, go ahead and call it for me.
Well, next we go to Christian Cage and the Hierarchy, and a little family squabble there. You know, Christian's like, I led you to the promised land, and Nick's like, well, you know, if you follow the plan, you get gold. You know, I kind of chuckled and laughed. You know, you can see this is going to implode here pretty quick in the next 6 months. I did laugh when he says, yeah, your mother and I really celebrated after the match.
Yeah, that was funny. That was definitely funny. What do you think about it, George?
So, going back to the whole highlight thing, that line was the only highlight from that segment. Believe it or not, me and your mom celebrated. Then they cut to the next scene. So I didn't see that thing. I don't know what's going on with that group. So I mean, is Christian fighting anybody right now? I see he has the television title, but I'm like, is he even?
No, but I keep on calling it, and people don't agree with me. But I honestly believe when that group breaks up, Christian's going to come out as the babyface. And when he's done with that, I foresee him and Edge teaming together to go after FTR.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see that. But yeah, it's just with lack of seeing Ring of Honor. I don't know what's really going on. Everybody in AEW is walking around with Ring of Honor belts, and then there's no real talk about Ring of Honor. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Yeah,
That's one of the things
terrible.
that kind of turned me away from it.
Yeah, I agree. It's terrible.
All right, so the next we go to Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe. And I never really realized this because I wasn't a Briscoe fan. I'm still not really. But he is a stiff worker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did admire when he tried to do a bulldog that Ricochet blocked it, and Mark Briscoe held on and slapped his head like he was spanking his ass.
Yeah, I tell you, look, and you're right. He is a stiff worker. There's a reason why him and his brother was banned from working with AEW and TBS. TBS did not want them there because they were so violent. Briscoe is not really the Mark Briscoe that I knew back in the day when he was with his brother.
No, he's toned down
a whole lot. My big surprise was the fact that he won the match. I just thought for sure
yeah,
that what's his face? Ricochet was going to come up on top. And good for Mark Briscoe. Look, I would love to see him with gold, at least one run. With gold, I really would. George, your thoughts? Which, by the way, seems like. Well, hold on. It seems like from what you said that you didn't suffer through this exactly like me and Mark. You cheated, kind of got the.
I did not cheat. Hey,
you got the cliff notes.
Yes.
I didn't cheat. I had it on the TV last night. I got kids, man. They decided they wanted dinner while AEW was on. So, forgive me for not looking at the TV the whole time because I was in the kitchen. No, I did see this match, and I was also very surprised that Mark Briscoe won the match. I was like, okay, but I think Ricochet's in that, and I'm not lowering. This is me comparing WWE stuff. Lowering Carmelo Hayes, but I think that's where Ricochet is. He's just a higher level in AEW. It's like he can be the snotty brat, trash talking guy, and everybody make fun of him and get over on him and all of that. And he wins dirty or something like that, or he just wrestles and beats you. But it's like he can lose to people like Mark Briscoe because his character established that. It's like he'll overlook a Mark Briscoe because he thinks he's so much better than everybody, and AEW was created for him. But it was a good match. And I agree with that, Mark Briscoe. I remember watching the Briscoes back when like Ring of Honor and New Japan was like the thing to watch when you want something else besides WWE. They were very hardcore, so seeing him tone it down and be more sports entertainment and still be able to wrestle is very different. But no, a great match. He can definitely keep up with a Ricochet. So I mean,
absolutely.
I actually enjoyed it. So
I did too. That was a good match.
The funny thing is, after watching it, and I've made a concentrated effort to really watch Mark Briscoe because he kind of intrigues me. While he's stiff, he actually is a damn good wrestler. And you don't see that because of the way he portrays himself and how he's been portrayed in the past. But fundamentally, this guy's got all the nuts and bolts. Plus, he's a little batshit crazy, so you got to enjoy that.
I was going to say, he is, as far as a performer, he is a performer at all ends. I mean, he works really well in the ring. He cuts good promos, even though they can be nutty. You get where he's going, though. He kind of reminds me, you guys will probably disagree. He reminds me a little bit of Brian Pillman, not his wrestling style, but his wrestling character, how he's just a little freaking crazy, but it works for him, like it worked for Brian Pillman. But yeah, good match. It was probably one of the better matches on last night.
I can see that, and I agree with that to a degree, but Pillman was on a different level altogether.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's like comparing Tully Blanchard to Ric Flair. Yeah, Blanchard was great. He was exceptional, but Ric Flair was just a level above.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying Mark Briscoe is on the same level that Brian. I'm saying that their characters that they portray are similar. It reminds me of them.
All right. So then after the match, Ricochet attacked him with a chair, and then was going for the scissors. And Kevin Knight. Now, this guy, who is this guy? I mean, 2-3 weeks, and he's like taking up airtime from people that probably deserve it more. I don't know who this kid came from.
Well, I see what you're saying, but as far as matching somebody up with Ricochet that could have one hell of a match, it would be Kevin Knight and Ricochet. I can see these two just having
A banger.
yeah, I mean I hate using that word, but having a match that is so good that whatever show that they're on, I can see them coming close to stealing the show and having possibly the match of the night.
Yeah, if they're allowed
Yep.
to.
Right.
I think AEW allow it. No,
I don't know.
I said
This kid
I
just
said
seemed
the
to come
same
on.
thing. I saw Kevin Knight. I was like, "What is that? Like, where did he come from?" They're like, "Oh, he's on New Japan Strong." I was like, "Well, that's why nobody knows who he is." But that's my issue. It's kind of hypocritical, but at the same time, that's my issue with AEW. But that was a day one thing. Even when I watched it years back, it's just like they don't introduce people right, and that's me. Like, excuse me, Kevin, for wanting my wrestling the way I want my wrestling after calling you out on it. But introduce us to these people. Don't just throw the new guys on TV with the, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can say I'm friends with Fuego del Sol. I've worked with him on a couple of shows. I haven't worked with him as much as some of my other friends, but when they brought him out, they made Sammy Guevara give him a contract. It's like, hey man, we're friends, blah, blah, blah. You deserve this contract after being on Dark and Rampage. So Kevin Knight just came out of nowhere. He's getting like, tag team matches. He's wrestling Ospreay in the tournament. He's doing all this stuff. It's like, who the hell is he? And like, you have to introduce for people that don't watch the other shows that they're on.
I agree with you, George. But this, I think, not to take off AEW, but I will. I think their thinking is because they have a certain type of fan. Most of their fans are New Japan fans, so I think that they assume that everyone's going to know their fan base. Everyone's going to know Kevin Knight is. But I do agree with you because your television shows, especially when you're in AEW, you shouldn't just be trying to cater to your loyal fans. You should also be trying to cater to your casual fans to win them over to be loyal fans. And by not introducing and telling everyone through vignettes before Kevin Knight makes his debut who Kevin Knight is, you're right, they alienate the type of fan that they really need to gain.
Right. When your main guys are like Samoa Joe and Moxley, it's like people you're seeing on Ring of Honor or TNA or WWE are your mainstays in the company. If you want to introduce new people and give them an opportunity, you don't have AEW Dark anymore, which nobody was watching that crap anyway. I watched it when it first started, but I mean, that's part of the reason why it's no longer. They weren't getting the views they used to. But you introduce a new guy in the main event of a show and you've never seen him before. It's like, well, he's been wrestling on Ring of Honor. You have to pay for Ring of Honor. You don't have to pay for Dynamite unless you have, cable or whatever you're streaming on. You can watch that every week. Let me know who he is. Vikingo, they brought him in and they were like, oh, this guy does this, this, and this. That's fine. They had videos the day he wrestled Kenny Omega. It's like, oh yeah, this is a dream match. Everybody's wanting to see this. Who is everybody?
Right.
And what happens because of them introducing him to the world when WWE bought AAA? Who's the first person you see during the Ray Phoenix Grande Chad Gable match? Vikingo. He's in the crowd. He helps Ray Phoenix at the beginning of the match. Everybody knew who he was by then. WWE was like, thanks, AEW. We got somebody to throw in your face that we just signed. So,
now, Mark,
go for it.
So, Mark, to your point, bringing Kevin Knight out, taking up airtime, and there's other people that probably deserves it. Here's the question, though. A lot of the people that you're talking about that are actually top-notch wrestlers, right? Do you really want to put him in a program, put whoever in a program with Ricochet, he's good, but he's definitely a mid-carder, right? Who not better to put in that spot than another mid-carder than Kevin Knight instead of bringing up and having some other guy who deserves much better than being in that spot with Ricochet? Or do you think it doesn't matter These guys just need television time.
Right, but it gets down to there's other people that could have took that television time. Kevin. And from what I've seen him, he's a fine wrestler. Don't get me wrong. He's probably similar to Ricochet in ability, but I think he's probably got a little bit more personality at this point. But somebody else, he already had a slot for that night with Speedball, which was another joke, but whatever. Should have had somebody else run in to say Briscoe instead of, Kevin, unless they just are trying to pump this kid up.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. Go ahead, Mark. Next match.
All right. Well, next we go to Stoli Hathaway introducing FTR. And
Why? Go ahead.
Huh?
No, go ahead.
Following him to the ring. All right. Which they try to explain their heel turn, which was kind of comical in a way. But in some ways they're right too, Anyway, lo and behold, Rock and Roll Express are in the crowd. They call him to the ring. They basically monkey with them for 3-4 minutes, and then they attack him. And then who is it? The United Kingdom or Paragon or I don't know what the hell their name is. I don't know what the hell their name is.
Undisputed Era.
Yeah, Undisputed Era. Yeah. They got so many name changes. It's Christ.
So many things with this. Number one, Hathaway. Why? Can you guys name me one team that he managed on AEW that was successful? Because I can't think of any. They're basically jobbers.
Anybody he stayed with.
Right. So what's going on with that? Next, the Rock and Roll Express. You know what? Love seeing the guys on TV. They are absolute legends. I'm going to actually, I've been talking with one of them. I'm coming on the podcast. I'm going to meet them next month in spring, in Missouri. But what do they gain by having FTR beat up 60-year-old guys? I get it, a little bit of heat, but it's the type of heat that people are going to forget about. So, that just kind of fell dead. And then you bring out the Undisputed Era. Fans don't give a fuck about the Undisputed Era. Except for maybe Adam Cole. Adam Cole, whatever his name is. The fans don't give a fuck about them. I'm all for turning FTR heel. I think they needed it. Their babyface run was stale. But this is a terrible, terrible way to start off their heel run. Or am I wrong, George?
No, you're not wrong. I don't disagree. Having that happen the way it happened, I'm just like, so we already turned him on one of the most over baby faces in the company. So why are we adding more heat by letting them beat up some guys that barely even wrestle anymore? Like, that's not going to make the fans, like, we know Ricky can still do a Canadian destroyer or destroyer or whatever. It's like, you're not beating up somebody that hasn't been wrestling in the last 5 years. You're beating up, guys that are actively wrestling while they're training young guys to get into the business. So that's the first part. The second part is, I don't mind Stokely being a manager. It's just, can we stick him with somebody for long term? If he's not going to be a comedy, because the dude's funny. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. He's very entertaining, but it's like, I've never seen him stay with a group or a wrestler long enough to be established as a good manager in wrestling. And I don't hate him. I don't dislike him. People have joked and said I look like him. I don't have any problem with anything Stokely does. But the problem I have is he's never with one group or person, he's not like, he doesn't have a stable. And because he's been in AEW so long since he left WWE, it's just like he wasn't used in WWE properly because, like, they didn't like managers all of a sudden. I don't know where that came from. But then he gets to AEW and he's with this group. This group doesn't take off. Now he's with this wrestler doesn't. And it's just like they keep moving him around. I was like, just get him a group and do a storyline. If you want him to be on Collision or Dynamite or Ring of Honor, just do something with him. Moving to FTR, I did see the heel turn because I don't see the pay-per-views and stuff like that. I did see the heel turn. That was enough heat by itself.
Right.
Like, you don't need to do anything else.
Right.
Heels don't need they really don't need to explain why they turned heel. They could have had a match instead of a segment. The whole Undisputed thing, I guess that's the first tag team up, or Adam Cole wins a singles belt and now they're fighting a tag team.
right? And the
Make
thing
it make
is,
sense. Make it make sense.
well, and that's my thing. And this is for you, Mark. This segment looked like Stokely was just kind of thrown in there. What's the reason why he decided to manage him? It doesn't make sense. I know they tried to explain it a little bit. It still just doesn't make sense to me. Was this a segment that, with him coming out, you like, oh, I get it. It makes sense. I mean, explain it.
Well, to be honest, I really can't. But there's two things I took away from this. All right. One, Midnight Express was better than Rock and Roll Express with Sweet Stan. All right. With Sweet Stan, I guess specify that. All right. And the second thing I took away from this was shit, I forgot.
As most of the fans will as well. That's the whole point. This was a forgettable segment.
Oh, I know what it was. It had something to do with Adam Cole, damn it.
Yeah.
I had it lost. it.
Adam Cole looks like he should be with Hendry, both wearing orange aprons at Home Depot. Sorry.
Not with his hair. When do you see hippie hair like that at Home Depot? You don't.
See it all the time here, the one in Coon Rapids.
All right.
But to your, what were you saying about Adam Cole, Mark? Go ahead.
I completely forgot. I completely forgot.
Oh man, I wish
much like this entire freaking show last night. Completely forgettable.
Look, Kevin. I know you're not a big Joe Hendry guy, and I don't know enough about him. But look, Adam Cole, if he would have just weathered the storm in WWE, we wouldn't be in this situation. And he got hurt and he was gone for a long time with AEW. But I wish he was in WWE right now.
Go ahead.
I know what it was. The second takeaway is that Matt Taven and Bennett are not with Paragon. So that's the other bonus I took from that.
Yeah.
The kingdom doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, but Bennett and his partner, I mean, the fans don't care about these guys.
They only care about Adam Cole. That's it.
I mean, these guys come out and regardless of their heels or baby faces, the fans don't give a shit. They do the worst thing that can be done to a professional wrestler when they come down that ramp. Nothing. Silence.
Maybe you can hear crickets when them two come out.
Right.
Crickets.
Yeah, Adam Cole has the whole personality of the whole group, and that's what 5-6 different people, and it was always about him, and that's unfortunate. That's why I said I wish he was still in WWE.
Yeah,
because it sucks for
but
for
with the what was it, the Undisputed in WWE? I mean, all four of them guys got over. All four of them did. Now, granted, Adam Cole got over more, but all four of them, Fish, O'Reilly, all of them guys were top star. I mean, shit, they took home top honors on PWI one year.
The group was hot. Like Shawn Michaels and Triple H were writing them in the right spots, and they were delivering, and it worked even when it was time for them to go to a main roster, and they stayed on NXT because they didn't want to do what Vince wanted them to do. It's like it worked. They get to AEW and they're trying to recreate it. They're trying to reinvent the wheel, and they're not
that's Tony Khan,
doing it the same way.
We've seen Tony Khan try to force back the NWO multiple times. One with the girls group, I call them the Outsiders that Paige was with.
The Outcasts, yeah.
Oh yeah, the Outcasts, whatever the name was. I mean, it was the exact same storyline.
Spray painting.
Right.
Yeah, I remember.
And then I honestly believe that the whole Death Riders thing was another attempt to follow the same path of a storyline as NWO, and it failed miserably, absolutely miserably. And I think Tony Khan, he'll have 4 or 5 good Dynamites, and then he decides, you know what? I don't like putting out good products, so I'm just gonna shit all over everything.
He pulls an Amber Heard, just shits the bed.
Yeah. Next match.
Well, you got the middle-aged Bucks versus Kevin Knight and Speedball. And now Speedball, wasn't he always barefoot before?
Yeah.
He had boots on last night.
No, he didn't. He was barefoot.
Kick
Was
pads.
he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
okay.
kick pads.
Yeah.
He's always barefoot.
Yeah. Look, this is, and I know you don't, Mark. I know you don't like the Young Bucks, but you can't. You have to give the devil what's due. They
They
look
look
great.
good.
They
They
look
look good.
very, very good. I am not a Mike Speedball fan. I don't like the guy. I don't like the way he looks. I think he is a wannabe early 80s WWE cartoon character. But look, at first I thought this would be a squash match because the Bucks was kicking their ass the first part of the match. But the second half of the match, man, that got really competitive. And it actually got pretty good. I have to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really good spots. Ultimately, we see the Bucks win, which is no surprise. There's no way I thought that they were going to lose their first match back. But this wasn't a bad match. I can't shit on it just because I don't like some of the people in it. This was a decent match.
Now, before you go off real quick, I did write the Bucks looked really good, but so did Kevin and Speedball, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was a better than expected match. I wouldn't say you could have a match with the Young Bucks be a squash match because that's asinine because I don't think they can squash toilet paper. All right. But it was a better match than I anticipated. And yeah, I'm not a Speedball fan. This Kevin Knight, I'm beginning to like him. The Bucks, I can take him or leave him.
Kevin Knight did some really great stuff in that match. But this is, and George, we'll get to you with your take on this in a second. This is my concern with the Young Bucks coming back. I see the Young Bucks being put in a title match against the the Hurt Syndicate. And if we were really kind of trying to make a match this reality is Lashley and his partner Benjamin would kick the shit out of him. That should be a squash match, but we know it's not going to be. And I hope it's not the Bucks that takes the title away from them. But even if they don't, this is going to make, if this match happens, the Hurt Syndicate look weak by them having to struggle to beat the Bucks. So I hope that this does not happen anytime soon. George, your take on the match and also what I just said.
So, of course, the Young Bucks used to be a shiny new toy for me at some point in life, and then all of a sudden I realized all the matches look about the same. Watching last night, their shiny new toy is they just got Speedball from TNA and they just got Kevin Knight and started pushing him. The match was great for a Young Bucks match. Even in this point, they look good. Kevin Knight, matter of fact, I think I saw him. Like I said, I watched the last half an hour, maybe last hour of the show last week. But Kevin Knight looked good. Like he looks like a guy I would get behind. Now, I don't know how he is on the mic. I haven't paid attention enough to that. But
I don't think I've heard him on the mic yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's got any promos yet or anything. That's the only thing I'm scared of. But I mean, it's AEW. You don't necessarily have to be on the mic. It's more wrestling than anything. But the match was good. Speedball, I know he can carry a match too. But no, it was definitely it was an interesting match. And that's what that tag team was. It's like, hey, look what we got. And they're fighting the Young Bucks this week. So, it wasn't bad. I didn't disagree with anything that happened in the match. It's, different spots that the Young Bucks did as opposed to what they normally do. But I mean, it's still a Young Bucks match. So I had no issue with that. That's all I can say about it. I was into it till the end.
So hold on, real quick here.
Well, hold on, Mark. Hold on a second.
I just said hold on, and then you hold on.
Yeah, hold on. I just got a comment I want to read.
hold on.
Quatre, I think his name is. He said just came across our podcast. He should be sleeping, but he can't. He's in the UK. He says loves from the UK. Thank you for watching our podcast. Please subscribe. If you know who Just Incredible is, I'm having him on tomorrow at 6:00 Central Time in the United States. Should be a really good interview. But thank you for checking out our podcast. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
Over the pond. on.
Thanks for the love, bruv.
Right. That was worth the hold on. All right. So real quick, the Bucks facing the Hurt Syndicate to me would be like the Rock and Roll Express versus the Road Warriors. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Rock and Roll Express took a tag team title off the Road Warriors, and that shouldn't happen then, and this shouldn't happen now.
Yeah, can't argue with you. Not at all. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Like I said, I think I maybe be jumping the gun a little bit because they've not even crossed paths yet. But just knowing the way AEW books matches, I just foresee this happening sooner rather
The
than
Bucks are gonna
later.
win like 2 matches and then get a title shot and then
Yeah.
take the belts off the Hurt
Right.
Syndicate.
Right.
And it's not how AEW books, it's how the Young Bucks book themselves.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. All right. So next we go to Tony Storm interview. The only thing I really got a kick out of this was, did she call them slap or slop tarts?
I don't know what she called them. I'm too busy laughing whenever she's
Yeah,
on the mic.
her innuendos are awesome, but yeah, she says for all you slop tarts. I'm like, what the hell's a slop tart?
I feel like she's freestyling on her skits.
Maybe she meant to say slap nuts. Maybe she's been talking to Jeff Jarrett too much.
No. She said tart. So I'm pretty sure it was slop tarts. But anyway, she throws out an open challenge, and Queen Armada, who's cleared now to wrestle, accepted. Now, you know what? I can get behind this because Queen
It'll be a
Armada,
great match.
she was on a losing streak for the longest time, and all of a sudden they just start pumping behind her, and I'm all for it because I think she's a hell of a talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a good match. And it could go both ways. I could see her pinning Tony just so that she could have a title shot. Obviously, Tony Storm's not going to drop the title to her. But I could also see Tony Storm beating her because she is such a great wrestler to make Tony Storm look even stronger. So it could go both ways. George?
I guess we'll find out Saturday.
Yeah, I was about to say in an eliminator match, it's like, do you kill the up and coming wrestler's momentum and let the champion just win and go on to the next challenger, or do you let the up and comer win and then lose the title shot? And being AEW, they could surprise you and she beat her for the belt. Like it's just, it could go either way. But yeah, she deserves to be in that spotlight regardless if she comes out with the belt or not. Get the title shot, put her on a pay-per-view, and have a 5-star.
You know, I think Tony's actually doing some Hollywood stuff, so she might be dropping the belt.
Yeah, but it won't be to Queen.
No, it probably won't be.
Yeah, no, I was about to say it wouldn't be to her.
All right, so next we go to the Hurt Syndicate to the ring. MGF eventually shows up. I kind of lost interest in this towards the end of it. I picked up a little bit, but MGF tried to bribe Bobby Lashley with a Mustang XT or something XS?
Something like that.
I don't know.
Some
but nice looking car, and Bobby gets in the car, takes off, says, "Hey, but you gotta give me a thumbs up," and Bobby still gives him a thumbs down, drives off. He's like, "Oh, enjoy the car."
So this is the thing that I'm really not liking about it, and I knew that this was going to happen. They're starting to try to throw comedy in this, and Hurt Syndicate should be 1,000 miles away from any type of comedy.
Right.
Secondly, at first this was intriguing. I think they have now passed the interesting mark of this.
Yeah.
If anything, after the whole, we talked about last week, MJF giving them a bunch of ugly girls to go party with, this week should have been, the week that they ended it and gave the thumbs up. That's where it's going, and then moved on from there. I love long-term storylines, but there's sometimes that less is more. This is one of those times, in my opinion. George, what do you think?
So, being new to this segment, and I've seen he's been trying to join the Hurt Syndicate, I would think in the less is more terminology, it would probably be best that they not do this every week. That way it stays funny. Thinking back to like the 24/7 belt for R-Truth, it was funny, and then it got not funny, and then they had to figure out something else to make it funny again. That's where you go with stuff like this. If you do comedy and just like a movie or anything else, it's got to be done right. I prefer they do something like this every other week or every so often, or have it in the background. It's a little, like maybe a little 5 minute skit. I was
But don't you
laughing during
think?
it, but I mean, huh?
But don't you think that they should keep comedy completely away from the Hurt Syndicate?
No, because I mean, the thing is, if you're too serious, then this goes back to the mainstream fan. If you're too serious, then you lose, the chance of gaining new fans. If you have to have booking time. You have to have something for everybody. There's people that don't like the hokey stuff. I mean, AEW has made it clear that they're all about doing silly stuff. They're doing serious wrestling. They're not above doing the crazy stuff. We won't see like a hand come out of Mae Young, but they can do the comedy. You know what I'm saying? And there's not people that aren't funny there or anything like that. It's just they don't have a challenger for the tag belts right now, and this can take up some time for MJF and the Hurt Syndicate until they figure out what they want to do. It could be a filler, and they already have something planned in the background. But I don't think they should totally keep them away. I mean, me personally, even though it seems to be working for AEW, I wouldn't even put the Hurt Syndicate back together. But that was the goal when they went all signed. So I'm just waiting for them to sign Cedric Alexander so they can get the group back together. That would be cool if that's what this leads to. They keep giving them a thumbs down until they get Cedric signed on, and then it's like, look, MJF, we really don't need you. Thanks for all the stuff you gave us, but it's time to die now. And they just kind of jump him, and that ends it all.
True. Mark?
You know what? I'm kind of mixed. I enjoy it. Anytime MGF is in there, I think the goal is to break Bobby Lashley out of character like R-Truth did with Brock. If you can break Bobby, you're gold. Because Bobby's a tough nut to crack. I don't remember Bobby ever having a sense of humor, to be honest. But I do enjoy, and you're right, George, because you look at all the crazy stuff that Kurt Angle did with Steve Austin. Oh my God, some of that stuff was just so far fetched. It was hilarious, And here Austin was this serious guy, this ass kicker, and no, you got to put a smile on Bobby's face, and you got to make him laugh, and every now and then you got to have Bobby drop a good one.
And Lashley does have a sense of humor. I don't know if you remember this or not, but the whole billionaire versus billionaire, the hair match, Bobby Lashley was one of the ones that was shaving Vince McMahon's head, and he was joking around and laughing and having a blast doing that. So I've seen him have a good time and laugh. My reasoning for wanting to keep comedy away from these guys is because of their whole gimmick. They're there, no nonsense, to hurt people. That's it. And if that's how you're going to book them, then keep them away from comedy. But I also understand what you're saying, George, and I agree with you as well. I definitely agree with you as if you're going to do this, do it every other week type of a thing, not every week. So, but yep. All right, Mark.
All right. So then next we go to a run-in with Paige and MGF, which is the same old stick time after time after time. I like it when these guys get together. I like when they actually have confrontation, but this is stale. You need to put this to bed finally.
Well, I tell you, the one thing that I did like though was someone finally called out on Paige for his ridiculous hairstyle, because that's been so distracting to me for some reason. I'm like, grow it out back, man. Let it be long again. I'm not sure if he cut it for a movie role or whatever it may be, but it's the smallest things that can turn you against that character. And with his hair being the way it is right now, it's hard for me to take him serious as this violent Hangman Adam Page. That's just me. George, what do you think about this segment? Do you think this whole thing is getting stale? You're not a big AEW fan. You don't watch it that much. I get it. But just from last night, what did you
No,
think
I know.
about this segment?
I know the MJF Hangman thing has been going on for a while. And even in WWE, we seem to have a holding pattern of the long term storytelling where the rivalries come back some kind of way, whether the people are different or something like that. In this case, it's not different because Hangman's been on this little, anti-hero run that he's on. But going back to the admittance with Swerve, was it last week or it's like they're having him come back to people and stuff come back to him like that. MJF's not going to change, whether MJF's pretending to be face or just being a heel. So, I mean, in this case, it is something that they kind of got to stray away from or finish it off. So I don't know where it's going with that. I thought that was over because I haven't watched. I've watched periodically. Like you said, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't hate it because I love wrestling, but I literally thought this rivalry was over already.
Yep.
All right. So the next we go to, which was an odd teaming, I thought, but Brody King and Will Ospreay versus Takeshita and Josh Alexander. This match really had the makings of to be a good match, and I was kind of let down on it, to be honest.
Yeah, the one spot that I did like though, when the big man tagged in
Ospreay.
Osprey just slapped the shit out of his chest, the big chest chop, a big chop as a tag. That made me laugh. Other than that, I agree with you. It was an oddball teaming, but I'm like, these are some great guys, though. I thought it was going to be a damn good match. I'm not going to say it was a bad match.
No, it wasn't.
It didn't meet my expectation. But
Although
that's just me.
I did like when he used Ospreay for a lawn dart.
Yep, that was good too. George, what do you think about this?
Good match, solid match, I should say. Weird pairing because I'm like, isn't Brody King with a tag team? So why is he tagging?
I haven't seen Buddy Matthews in a minute.
I think he's injured.
Is he?
I don't think he's.
I think he is.
Okay, I was about to say I don't think he's not there for any other reason than injury. But thinking about it, I was like, it could still be a good match. I'm big on Brody King because I like the big guys that can kind of get the speed and do just about anything. But I don't know, man. It was very odd to see that thing come across the bottom of the screen that was the tag team. I didn't know Josh Alexander was in the family until I saw it, but they're all capable of putting on good matches. So, I mean, that's pretty much what happened. But Brody King was just there to be the fall. That's what it turns out. But the match was exciting at times. But I mean, I can't say it was, like you said, it was a great match, but it was definitely solid.
I don't know why they keep on booking Brody King to take the L. This man is just phenomenal, especially for a big guy. It's almost irritating to me that they're treating him this way. It is beyond time for him to have a title run. Because I mean, he's good on the mic, he's great in the ring. Don't know what the problem is. But yeah, George, I agree. It was a solid match. I just thought it would be more. I don't necessarily like seeing Will Ospreay as in a tag match. I definitely prefer him as a singles performer. I know that he was once in a tag match with Fletcher. I just prefer him as a singles performer.
All right, so the next we end up with, and I was surprised this was the final match, but okay. Jamie Hayter versus Chris Starlander. Chris has never been a world champion for AEW. I'm surprised about that.
Yeah, this match just didn't do anything for me. It really didn't. I like Chris and I like Hayter. This match just didn't do anything for me at all.
Well, this whole
and I think this was a. Oh, let's go back real quick. We skipped something. So Lance Archer, after the last match, came in and attacked Ospreay and King. And we had who ran out to help him again?
I've drawn a blank.
Yeah, I can't remember who ran.
Yeah, I know the family attacked Brody King and Will Ospreay, but
yeah,
I forgot who came out as well.
Yeah, no, I'm drawing a blank. I don't remember this.
Yes, this is why this is the worst podcast you could ever watch, ladies and gentlemen, because we tend to forget. What on?
I was gonna say maybe look at a YouTube screen cap
Yeah,
and
I'm
people will
about
figure
to.
it out.
Anyways, during the Jamie Hayter's retro 70s look does nothing for me, to be honest. Oh wow, you
Yeah,
both froze. Oh, okay.
I'm still here.
So it was Kevin Knight who ran out to help Ospreay in their match with Fletcher in New Orleans.
Shiny new toy.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, then he got the beat down. You're right. They're really trying to give this guy a push.
Yeah, that's it.
So
So anyways, Jamie Hayter's got a short clothesline that would make JBL proud.
yeah, I agree, man. I don't know why this match just didn't do anything for me, and it was just a terrible ending to AEW last night. I mean, it was it.
I'm
George is
sorry to
dying
laugh.
over there. What's going
I
on,
don't know.
George?
No, dude, I just thought about the way this whole segment went. It was like, oh, that was the main event. Hey, who
Yeah.
ran in on the tag team match?
Right.
I forgot. Let's look it up. Oh, I see why I forgot. Oh yeah, by the way, no, look, that's pretty much.
That's
Look,
AEW last night.
I'm gonna just cap it off. Every time they come to New Orleans, it's a good show, then it's a bad show. I went last year, and like it was from a friend that's because of the local scene, because I'm mutual friends with Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks wasn't even supposed to be on the show, and they just added him in Big Cass, added the tag team title defense to Rampage. He wasn't even booked in his hometown. That was going to be the first downer if he didn't wrestle, and they had him and I think it was like Britt Baker or somebody doing PR work before the show in the lines for people getting in, and he wasn't even going to be on the show. Sting did a vignette with Darby Allin at UNO and then left and had to do something for the Super Bowl or something like that. That's the type of experience I had for New Orleans AEW, and it's just rubbed me the wrong way when my all-time favorite wrestler wasn't even there on his retirement tour. So fast, and then let's think about the first time they came and they blacked the lights out and introduced Satnam Singh after a Suzuki Samoa Joe match.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's who you cut the lights off for. So, I mean, it's a very inconsistent run they've had with the New Orleans shows. And I'm like, I wish we could get a pay-per-view down there because that's probably the only consistent show they would have. But last night I did watch the whole show. And yeah, the women's match, they had a lot of good spots, but it just wasn't, that wasn't a main event. I mean, the Ospreay Brody King tag team match wasn't a main event either. It just, none of the stuff was like, it was almost the equivalent to the first night of WrestleMania, but they just didn't have a match that pulled the whole show together like the main event. So, I mean, in general, the segments were okay, but
it was
again,
like haphazard.
And Bob Cook, who's joined us, says that not everyone can be or should be the world champion. And I agree with that, Bob. But we're going back to Brody King. I'm not saying he should have a world titles run, but he should have at least a mid-Carter belt run for AEW just because of how good he is.
I'd like to see Brody King versus Lance Archer 1-on-1.
The problem is, but the problem is this. Look how they booked Lance Archer. He's not a big guy that I'm like, ooh, can Brody King overcome? When the fact of the matter is that you had the guys from Top Flight beat Lance Archer for the love of God.
Yeah, it's not exactly the big show.
Right.
Speaking of which, where's Private Party?
We've not seen them since they've dropped the belts. And that's
Right.
look, I've been watching AEW and Max from 5 years ago. And if you go back and watch the Private Party from hold on. Bob Cook said he was actually commenting on Mark's statement regarding the women and the main event not being world champion.
Say what?
you talk about Chris Statlander never having a world
Yeah, I was about to say
championship.
with Statlander though, I think they could bring it back, but they've kind of missed the ball on giving her the belt. It's like they don't know when they want to make women the world champion or the TBS champion, and which belt is more important. So you get a push like that for Statlander, and she doesn't become world champion. It's like, oh yeah, she was one of the TBS champions. But what about the main belt? So
Right.
it's giving people an intercontinental title instead of being WWE champion, or giving people a whatever mid card belt for AEW and not being the AEW champion. And
Right.
you're trying to build a big belt prestige, but you confuse everybody because you're not giving the important people a belt. So all women shouldn't be the world champion for AEW considering, but I mean, if you're going to push somebody that hard and change her gimmick and make her better, and she still doesn't win the belt, what are we here for?
Right. Yeah, I agree. And going back to Private Party, what I said, I was watching them 4 years ago about the other, a couple of days ago. And if you compare them then to now, man, they were so hot back then. And it's like they purposely cooled them off. They made, I thought the storyline with Zeke and Matt Hardy, I thought that whole thing was terrible. I think it lowered him to, from where he was at. They put them back together when his partner comes back. I think he was out injured, and they just didn't take back off the way they were 4 years ago. I love Private Party. I thought they were an excellent tag team. They had the belts. How many times did you see them defend it? Hardly any. They really weren't on TV until it was time for them to drop it. They were terribly booked when they had those belts.
We seem to have lost a lot of heat since they got back too, or a lot of momentum. Jamie Hayter was hot when she was right before she got injured. She was pretty hot. She came back to just flat. I mean, she's flatlining to me.
Well, I don't think it helps that she looks like one of the characters from freaking Scooby Doo the way she dresses.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Scooby Doo.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know this. I as much as I love AEW, last night fell flat. Honestly, this is gonna be harsh. I would give them no more than a C- overall for the show.
Yeah, I really can't go much beyond that either.
George?
I'd say a D plus. I didn't connect with everything the way, like I literally saw people online saying last week's show was like one of the best shows in a long time. And then they followed up with this on WrestleMania week, the end of WrestleMania week, to put it at that. So, just going back to that's the thing with me. And like I said, I don't hate wrestling. So, I watch stuff, I see stuff, but AEW, the stuff that, somebody from the outside looking in that's not a huge fan, that's the inconsistency of booking is one of the main issues. I saw a rumor that Wardlow's been talking to people at WWE over WrestleMania weekend. Wardlow is one of the biggest drop balls that AEW has had. He could have been Goldberg plus for AEW. They could have knocked it out the park with him. Instead, it just wasn't. They weren't launching him out the rocket launcher like they should have. Jamie Hayter's another one, but I know it's all in booking, but it's all in performance too. Maybe they see something different, and I don't know how Tony Khan books or anything. I'm not going to make fun of anybody or do anything. I've done that already. Those years have passed. It's just if you're going to be a serious competitor, or say you're the other option, like
so
WWE,
Bob Cook,
you know what I'm saying? Like
right. So real quick, couple of things. Bob Cook says, give it all to Megan Bain. That's right. Superficial Bob said it. His next comment, though, is why I kind of interrupt you. I'm sorry, George. He just read that last night's Dynamite was the lowest rated episode of the year. So, yeah.
Hold on.
Let me say this real quick, Mark. Last night's Dynamite honestly reminded me of a Nitro show during the last month of their run before they went out of business. It really did. I thought
they still had better ratings than last night.
So I'm not saying that one episode.
I know, but hold on now. All right.
The
so
Master P effect.
Go ahead,
so you had WrestleMania 1 or WrestleMania night 1 at here. You had night 2 at about here. You had Raw at about here. All right. AEW is easily going to come in here regardless. All right. Just because Raw was so good, if Raw was, if we had a Raw on Monday as we did the previous Monday, AEW would have looked a hell of a lot better this week.
Yeah, but this is the thing,
Mhm.
though. If you want to be in the same conversation as WWE, like Tony Khan so desperately wants, he knows that your Wednesday night show is going to be following the Raw after Mania.
Right.
So you have to prepare that Raw is going to be great. So if I want to be in the same conversation, then Dynamite needs to be great.
Yep.
That was
Yep. You're
far from
absolutely right.
great. Bob said that the came out, the ratings was 521,000 viewers.
Wow. That's not
So,
including though Max.
no, that's not.
So that's probably another 200,000 to 300,000 or more.
Yeah, that's the thing with the streaming service. I don't know how to, and I know they had that talk on like Busted Open when the Raw was about to be on Netflix. I don't know how the ratings and the viewership
So
matters
I
at
can
this
tell you,
point.
oh yeah.
So
So everyone's talking about, or they were talking about how Raw's viewership for the debut was 6 million. And then all the haters were laughing when it dropped to 3 million. Now,
mhm.
my thing was this. I don't think anyone with any common sense thought that Raw would keep 6 million viewers because that wasn't a regular Raw. That Raw was specifically written to appeal to the casual fans, to draw in new fans because they're in Netflix. It was the second episode of Raw on Netflix that we seen a regular Raw, how they normally do their shows, which they've been averaging 3 million. Now, that 3 million, though, is only who's watching it live. They don't add in the numbers of people who go back to watch it after it's live, which a lot of people do because if you have a certain level of Netflix subscriber, then you don't get, like, I don't get it. I don't get commercials if I watch Raw after it's live. They
Right.
don't count all those people. So I have to imagine that if you count on those numbers, I bet Raw's getting probably maybe about 4 million viewers
Yeah,
if I
because
had
they're
to
all over the
guess.
world.
Right. So um but yeah, I mean, but look, this is a thing. I don't watch AEW or WWE or TNA or whatever other wrestling programs. I don't watch it with a thought in mind of, gee, I wonder how many people are watching this. What are the
No.
ratings? I watch it
No.
because I enjoy professional wrestling. Um, so I don't give a shit about the numbers. Business wise, I'm sure they do, especially AEW with being on network television. They don't want to lose their
Yeah.
spot, but I don't know. Um, I just know that this was one of the worst shows in quite a while. And I get it. Not every show is going to be great. But like I just said, if you know that your show is going to be following the night after Raw, and you're sitting here wanting to be in the same conversation as WWE, which I think is stupid, by the way, then you should have said, look, we got to book one hell of a show and not the crap that they gave us last night.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. You
Right.
got 2 days after Raw to make this show happen. All right. Yeah, it's a quick turnaround, but it still can be done.
They had more than 2
Yep.
days. Everyone knew the date of Raw and the date of
And
WrestleMania,
WrestleMania weekend didn't change.
right? And they knew the
No,
date
but
when
I'm
the
talking
Raw was
about
going to
Raw
be on.
itself.
So,
Yeah.
but still, they knew when Raw was going to be on the Raw at what date. So they've had months to say, look, we don't know how great Raw's going to be after WrestleMania because that's a big one as well. We need to work on a show that's going to happen in 4 months that's going to follow this Raw after WrestleMania. And we need to make sure that it's damn good starting right now so we can lead to whatever's going to happen on that Dynamite. Tony dropped the ball. He did. And you can say that it was his creative that dropped it. if he does have creators or his producers or whatever it is, you can say all of that shit. The bottom line, this is Tony Khan's company. It ultimately falls on him.
Right.
Creative has to be better. And
Yeah.
all we got was Kevin Knight Jr.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Or
it. But I
Peter.
gave him a C minus. George gave him a D plus. Mark gave him a C minus. It's not really good. So,
And actually, I think that's the lowest score I've ever gave AEW.
yeah. Yeah, because you're really a big AEW fan.
I
As
am.
am I. I love AEW. I don't miss an episode. Last night, I wish I would have missed it. I'll be
Yeah, but you know what?
honest.
Hey, man, you should have been in the kitchen cooking while the show was on, like I was.
If I didn't have to do this podcast, I would have not watched that full episode. I wouldn't have.
You know, when it comes to AEW though, I give them extra credit for some reason. You know, when you give them a B, I'll go a B plus. You know, because I really want that underdog to succeed. All right? So I have ruby colored lenses on when I watch it, but last night I couldn't watch it ruby colored through the ruby colored lenses.
Look, I'm not trying to talk shit about AEW to bury them. I want AEW to succeed.
Right. You know,
desperately. I want
I was about to say, being in the business myself, it's like like Kev asked me on the interview. It's like if they handed you a contract, of course I would go to WWE. But it's like if I had a choice and could go somewhere right now, if WWE's not knocking on the door, go to the second one. You know what I'm saying? Like go to AEW, right. Or hey, go to TNA. I'll still end up in WWE some kind of way. But no, it's good to have options. So we are on the indies, busting our butts to go somewhere. Not everybody wants to stay on the indies the whole time. And then if you go to AEW, you can still be on the indies. And WWE is just getting to that. Like they're just letting people go wherever they want to go within reason. So you know what I'm saying? So AEW's always been there to be like, all right, if we're not using you, you can go here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's an option for people I work with and people in other parts of the country and the world to go, and then they can still do other stuff.
Yep. I agree.
So they got to stay running.
Well, guys, this was the recap of Wednesday Night Dynamite. We talked a little bit about Raw, at least the big things that happened on Raw through WrestleMania. I'm more excited to watch SmackDown and to watch Raw next week than I am to watch AEW next week. But I will say, on paper, Dynamite next week should be good. You know, we have Moxley going against Samoa Joe. Moxley's been carrying that title long enough that although I think Moxley's going to retain, there might be that possibility that Joe actually gets it though. So I'm looking forward to that match. But yeah, right now I'm really looking forward to Raw to see what's going to happen on Monday after this whole Seth Rollins and Brian Breaker thing. George, any final words?
I do. I actually have to plug. So I would probably get kicked out of my house. Me and my eventually my oldest son will be working on his own YouTube channel. So I might be plugging that every now and then on the show here coming up as soon as we get everything rolling. Also, shout out to I'll send him the clip if he doesn't see it. Dale Springs, one of my friends, he started wrestling before I became a ref, like a couple of months before. He was the valet in the scene with MJF and Bobby Lashley. So he got a little screen time last night, and some of my boys got to wrestle on the Ring of Honor show before Dynamite, so they'll be on TV. They're on Ring of Honor for this show from New Orleans. So other than that, I'm gonna be in Mississippi Saturday for SWA, and that's kicking off a busy month for me coming up. But you'll hear enough from me over time.
So real quick, Quattro had asked a question. He wanted to know from each of us real quick if we could plan a tag team match, past, present, live or dead, which 4 wrestlers would we have? I'll be honest with you, I would love to see the Road Warriors go against the Hurt Syndicate. Would love to see that match.
George? You know, that'd be a good match. I'd second that in a heartbeat.
That would be a good match.
You know what? I've seen it a few times, but I'd go with Steiners versus Road Warriors any day of the week. Either Steiners versus the Violent Connection with Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and Terry Gordy. And anybody with Bruiser Brody, any of the three guys with Bruiser Brody is always a treat.
Yeah. George?
Let's see. I'm gonna go more modern. Although I have my thoughts about. I don't know, man. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, I saw a lot of great tag teams wrestle each other. But I would probably go modern. I still want to see, and I'd like to see them if they were in their prime. I would like to see the Elite when it was the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus the New Day, because that was supposed to happen, but obviously it couldn't. But that would have been in the New Day's prime with Big E before the neck injury, though, a 6-man tag. I'm going beyond 4. I still would like to see that, because the way they were doing matches back then when all of that was popular, it would have probably been a great match, great tag match.
Yeah, I agree. So that is your answer, my friend. Again, thank you for joining us. I hope you subscribed. Tomorrow, guys, don't forget, I have that big interview coming with Justin Credible, ECW WWE star back in his day. And then we will be back on Tuesday with Bob Cook to do the review of Monday Night Raw. George, will you be joining us?
I'll have to see. Kids go back to school next week. They got a lot of stuff going on now. It's not me no more. Yeah, it's a good possibility. Yeah.
Okay, so possibly George, Mark's gonna be here with us.
Hold on, we forgot JD McDonough came back on Monday.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, man. How did we skip over that?
Yeah, you're right. JD
Finn Balor Jr.'s back.
And I was surprised for him to come back in the faction that he did. I'll be honest with you.
And then real quick, that show with the Von Erichs, that's on Max?
That's on Max. That was great.
What was it? ID? The TV show ID or something?
Nope, it is it's something Hollywood.
Oh, okay. All right, because I gotta look it up and I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's something Hollywood is what it is. It was great. I tell you, after watching that and hearing directly from Kevin Von Erich, I will never watch the movie The Honor Claw again, because they did not even bother to contact the Von Erichs to get the story from them. The Von Erichs didn't find out until after someone seen a advertisement for the movie. Yes, and there's a lot of stuff that the movie got so wrong. So I encourage if you're a fan of Max to watch that interview. Or it's called Hollywood something. It comes out every Monday, but it was Kevin Von Erich that was on, and Kerry Von Erich's daughters were there, and Kevin Von Erich's daughter was there, and they told the whole story. And I tell you, and I'm just being honest with you, watching that got a little lump in my throat at times. Be honest with you, it was
Speaking
really
of which,
good.
they have,
I'll never watch that garbage movie again, The Iron Claw.
Speaking of
How
which,
dare
they
you
have
talk about a movie I was in?
Hey, hold on,
I was an extra in that. I was an extra in that movie.
Which one? I didn't see it. I didn't see you.
Yeah, no, I was in the crowd, but I have never seen the movie. I sat down to watch, and something always happens when I turn it on. But I don't. My friends that like were extras with me say I was in it, but I never saw me.
I will go back only to look at you, to find you. Otherwise, I won't ever watch that movie again.
Speaking of which, AEW's got Von Erich's kids. Where they've been for 3-4 months now.
Oh
wait, that's right. They won't be used until they're in Texas again.
Probably.
Yeah, I was about to say they'll probably be all in.
Yeah, probably. All right, guys. I'm out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. Mort, would you say? Give it to me.
Ring the damn bell.
Ring the damn bell, guys. See you guys tomorrow for that interview with Justin Credible. You guys have a great night.
Yep.